This video I will tear down the engine completely. It's a bit different than a usual tear down, you will understand why. And there will be a lot of other videos about this bike. You can watch the playlist, I will add its link here, the videos will be coming. But before that, if my videos are helping you and if you want to support this kind of content, you can do it by liking the video, sharing the video and subscribing to my channel. So what's different? We were very time constrained. There was a lot of problem with the timing because we were working in a weird place, blah blah. So I already teared down, I already took this engine apart a couple of times actually just to practice. I already cleaned it, so every bolt on this engine is loose. And because of that I will be tearing it down like in no time, like half an hour, there is no cleaning and etc. So that's it. That's the reason, because if I would do it, if I did it in the way that you just took it from the frame of the bike and then start tearing it up like you would normally do, it would be a lot of work for me when it comes to shooting it, and when it comes to editing it, I had to do it in a couple of ways and blah blah. So this way it's much easier for me. I'm sorry if you expected to have a tear down that way, but it explained itself. And other than that, I wanted to what I wanted to say, I didn't speed up the video unless you need to see a detail or something. So if you want to speed it up or if you want to skip, of course you can do it. If you just watch it completely, it helps me more. And if you have further questions, you can leave a comment. I try to answer them all. And yeah, let's continue with the video. Video is in my own language, but I will try to do voiceover as best as I can when it's necessary. As you can see, I'm able to just take these bolts with my hand. Of course, normally you can't do it that way, but you get the idea, just to speed things a little bit up, especially with cleaning. I really hate cleaning and getting dirty, actually, more than cleaning. These things, these are for the coolant hoses. You can pull them after you undo their bolts. They have two bolts, but I already unbolted them before. And you place everything in their relative boxes that you name them, you write their names. And of course you can lift it up, and there is this seal, that rubber seal. And try not to damage it if it's not already damaged. So try to lay it down as flat as it can and try not to put anything on it accidentally, because it will damage it, something heavy especially. And there are the oil lines, as far as I can see. Yeah, these are the oil lines. That they are fragile, pretty much fragile compared to the rest of the stuff. So try to be careful when you pull them. First, of course, you have to undo the bolt. They are hold down with two bolts, one each. There are two bolts, but one bolt holds each one of the lines, and I'm using a pair of pliers here, but be careful, it's not very wise to do it. So you should be able to actually just pull it like this. As you can see, that's the hole where the bolt goes. I always try to leave everything on their respective holes, I mean the bolts. So if I took a bolt, and if I can put it back where it belongs to, I do it that way. And now I am undoing the camshaft things, and these are also you would like to do with them in a sequence because they are under pressure. So you don't want to do it like the way I did it. You would like to do it, if you don't know how to do it, if there is no way of explained way in your service manual, you would like to do it from outside in a crisscross pattern. But sometimes service manuals will tell you how you should do the sequence of you should undo the bolts. Of course, you first just crack them a bit, like quarter of a turn each of them, and then undo them completely. But they have no load on them. As you can see, I am just doing it with a drill driver, which makes my life much easier. These all have their name, they have a letter. This is the H, for example, and it starts from the A So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and so that keep an eye on that. If you don't have a service manual, you should probably take a picture or make a video. And there are pins. Each of these, let's say caps, I don't know what are they, each of them has not pins but hollow pins, let's say, which hold them in place. And this part is has an arrow, which means that that arrow should face the front of the engine. And now I'm taking these pins and the caps off, and I'm putting in all them in a box on the left corner, as you can see. So organizing is really important, especially if you are doing it in your spare time. So for example, you take the engine and a week passed and you have no service manual, no video, no nothing. I assure you, you will forget something. You will forget where it belongs to. If you drop something like I did now, you will forget it where it belongs to. I assure you. So be organized, shoot videos, shoot pictures, high definition pictures of every stage. That's very important. So these videos are, I always watch my videos back when I forget something. So they're very helpful. And yeah, that's the tension on my right hand. I am releasing the tensioner, but it's not enough. As you will see, the center bolt, losing the center bolt is not enough. So you have to remove the whole thing. I'm listening my own voice at the same time because that makes me it's really confusing trying to listen something and make comments on it. As you can see, the tension on the chain is gone, so now we can take the camshafts out. And as you can see, I'm putting the bolts back where they belong to. It makes life much easier afterwards. Unless if you knock them and break them. And I put the tensioner back in place and I screw it back in. Now the camshafts can go, and my friend is stealing my nut. That's a terrible choice of words. My socket. And I would recommend the chain to hold the chain in place, but since we are tearing the engine completely down, you can just leave it down. And this camshaft has numbers, stamped on them. That one has 29, the other has 28, so that also you can keep an eye on that. There are 8 bolts which holds the head, this part, and the cylinder. And as I said earlier, you would like to undo these bolts in a crisscross pattern in a specific way if your manufacturer said any specific way, and you need to first undo them quarter of a turn, maybe even less than that, just to prevent warping and stuff. But as I said, they're already very loose, as you can see. So I'm just taking them out. Now I really regret that I didn't speed up the video. Now I need to wait all these boring stretches of no speaking but me doing stuff. So I actually, even though I'm not saying anything in the original video, I just feel like I need to talk because I'm really bored. It's very sad actually, something commenting on his own video that's boring. I'm not a good advertiser, I guess. Not a good at promoting stuff. So yeah, after all these bolts are gone, if I remember, there's a couple of small things that you need to remove, and please show them. Please. There are two small bolts which hold the top part. That's that one of is that one, and the second is very hidden. It made me absolutely crazy. The second one is, yeah, it's there, it's already out, and if I remember it, I dropped it in the engine. So be careful with that. It's behind that guide of the timing chain, and so we can take them out. And the last thing is to do that the oil lines. I forgot these pins for the cover, so I always try to leave these also where they belong. Everything has its own respective video, they will come. By the way, every measurement and stuff. And what I'm saying, oh yeah, there are two oil lines connected to the head, so you need to remove the starter motor first. To be able to do that, you need to remove the starter motor bolts, and I put them back where they belong after I remove the starter bolt. And the next thing will be removing the oil lines. I guess none of the new engines using this kind of external oil lines, which is expensive, I guess, because they're all brazed copper lines. And these have also copper washers, which you would like to change or anneal if you want to reuse them. I guess I had a video, I will have a video about annealing them and putting them back. It worked, there was no leaks. So this is already much after I put the engine back together and it's working. So it worked actually, yeah, it's now working, that engine. And again, leave everything on. So yeah, I leave everything, the bolts and the washers where they belong. I try to do it as much as I can if I don't let them fall, but it's always stuff gets fallen down. It's inevitable. Oh, so much to go. I'm not even half of the video. It felt so fast when I did the video in my own language, when I edited, because I edited in 2 times the speed. Now there is nothing preventing you from removing the top. As you can see, it's relatively easy if you have a bit of upper arm strength, and I let something fall again. I really wonder what. The more I watch it, the more I see my mistakes. There's the head gasket. It's a metal one. No one recommends reusing it, but we will reuse it, unfortunately. And to be able to remove the cylinders, you need to remove that thing, whatever was it, I wasn't able to remember it, the water pump, yeah, the housing of the water pump, and that metal pipe. That was, I guess, the single biggest problem that I encountered with the engine. It was very corroded, solid in place, and it took so much time. Now, actually, of course, it's very easy because it's well oiled, it's cleaned. But it was a nightmare to remove that. There is the propeller of the water pump, and it is reverse threaded, so you need to turn it right, clockwise, to be able to open it. So be very, very careful with it, because if you damage it, you will have a very bad day. Then you can also remove that part. You can also change those seals in the center. I would recommend you to do that, but we weren't able to find any replacements, so they stayed that way. And put everything somewhere. And you can also take the cylinders, I don't know how you call it. Then you rock back and forth, and try to hold them with your pinkies down there, because they would like to mar the edges, the piston rods, when they hit the engine block, that very edge, that they will mar it. And you can remove that one, you can just pull it off, pull it out, pull it off. And the piston pins, there are this retaining rings, and you can remove them very easily with a screwdriver or something, with a needle nose pair of pliers, and then you can remove that wrist pin, I guess it's called, yeah, and leave the rasp pin with its piston. So don't mix them, because they kind of work it, they kind of, how can I explain, become one unit. It's hard to explain now with my English, so try to keep them together, don't mix them. Their tolerances match each other, let's say, I don't know. And to get the other one, you need to turn the crank a bit, but the timing chain, of course, in my way. Yeah, come on, you can do it. Yep, almost there, yeah. Now I can remove the second wrist pin. The retaining ring is already out, so I keep the piston with its pin. Now I can get to the clutch, and of course, again, I'm just removing the bolts like I have no concern of warpage or something. I'm like removing them, whatever. You know why I do it like that, I guess, at this point. So if you are doing this the first time and you don't have a manual, try to keep which bolt is long, which bolt is short. Sometimes happens, sometimes they are not all the same. Just a warning. As you can see, it is unreal clean, the engine. I used actually pressurized water, and I'm really happy with it. I cleaned the whole engine with pressurized water, and all these kind of caps have locating pins, let's say securing pins, that hollow pins. You don't want to lose them. And you remove that bolts in increments, and I'm doing it here. For some reason I'm respecting that one, I don't know why, because there's under spring tension, I guess, something wise to do, but I'm still surprised that I didn't forget it. So yeah, try to do it in increments, because if you just do it one by one, at the end one of the bolts had to keep all of the spring tension on it, so it can warp something, blah blah. So yeah, and then try to keep everything together. And as I said before, everything has its own measurement and stuff, and if you're interested you can check them, the clutch plates, cylinders, pistons, chains. You can just pull that part out, and then you can remove the clutch plates, and there is the way you install them because of the grooves on it. I guess I had another video explaining it, but if you just watched it carefully, you should be able to see which direction these grooves should face. And that dish, that dish spins freely and it's very hard if you don't have air tools. Air tools makes it much easier if you have an impact wrench, a powerful one. But if you need to hold it down, you need to make something like that. I also have a video about how you can make that thing, but it explains itself when you looked at it. You just place it on the grooves on that dish, and then there was a long bolt which squeeze it, and then you can try to break it loose. But again, if you have an air tool or an impact tool, electric one, it makes life much easier, because if you try to break it with a breaker bar, really resist you. So yeah, You can watch that video in which I made that special tool. You can remove that nut. Now it has a washer, and then now you can pull it off. There should be another washer, if I remember right, behind that. And to remove any confusion, sorry, you can put the plates back on that dish. I guess call it dish, I don't know what exactly it's called in English. So yeah, I place everything back on. And yeah, please, I really hate myself. I'm so slow. It feels I'm like so relaxed, like put everything slowly. Wow, okay, now I see that why people don't watch my videos. Okay. Yeah, that's the second washer I was talking about. So yeah, don't forget it. Well, you will, you know, that's the fun part. I'm finished with that part, so I need to go to the other side, which is the alternator. Not alternator, it's dynamo, I guess. And again, I'm removing bolts, and be careful if there is any difference in length between them. Okay. Come on, you can do it. You're even using a drill driver, how slow you can be, man. Yeah, okay, everything has its own cap. You can remove it, and because the flywheel and the rotor is a magnet together, it's hard to pull that cap. So because it's magnetically pulled, so don't be surprised. And I also have a video, at least one video about how you can cut your own seals. And there are also measurements of that stator and stuff. I will add them slowly if you keep an eye on the channel or on the playlist. So where was I? There is our flywheel, rotor of our dynamo. I don't know, it's the same thing. There is also reverse threaded, the bolt which holds it down. So if you turn it counterclockwise to the left, you will break it, especially if you do it with a power tool. So if you watch it closely, I'm turning it clockwise, so it's reverse threaded. That's also very important, because if you break it, you will also have a very bad day. That flywheel is not the original flywheel actually, so that the original flywheel has a special puller. So you can use a puller like this if you have a situation like I have at the moment, if someone changed the flywheel with something else. But as far as I remember, it didn't come out hard. This is our starter clutch, and it's connected to the flywheel, and it also should have another video on its own, because I took it apart, if I remember right, just to check the condition. So there is that washer, and there is that gear which is connected to the starter motor with that chain, so you can leave them all together. You can put them back in with its bolt. You can put them aside all together. And there is that small gear which is connected to the splines on the starter motor. So it engages on the splines on that motor shaft, if I can put it. Yep. So yeah, if you didn't sleep, fell asleep already, we are coming close. Let me check my timeline. No, okay, still some to go. So there is that piece, whatever it's called, just a cover for the chain, just to keep it in place, I guess. And there is a washer, and where is it? Yep, it fell down. So there are these kind of thick washers
There's these, and then you, I don't know why I don't pull them, put the bolts back on the motor engine block, but I don't know, whatever. So there's the cover of the chain. You can also remove that. I don't know if it's necessary, but I don't know, I just remove it. Guess if I remember right, I removed it because it was easier to clean or what? I forgot. And there is the cover for the shifting mechanism. You can remove that cover. And the shifter pedal is connected to the shaft, which is poking out. It's poking out, it should be somewhere there. Yeah, it's down there. So you can also change those seals. I forgot if I changed it. I guess I didn't because we couldn't find or something. Of course, everything belongs to its own place, own cap, own holder, let's say. There's another oil line which is held down by another bolt. It has also copper washers, so be careful not to lose them if you need to reuse them, like I end up doing. And these balls are also important, so try not to lose them. You can produce them again, but it will just take time. So you can remove that gasket. So that part is the clicking part. When you shift, and if you pull, not the clicking part, but just the part that makes you stop, gives that increment when you push the pedal down. If you pull it down, you can. If you push it down, you can pull it out. That part now I'm working on is the part that makes that click sound, which is spring loaded. And I should have shot a close-up of it, sorry, but I'm just releasing the spring tension on it to be able to make the rest procedure easier. After I get the spring pressure off, I put its bolt back in. So there are these pins again, which should, now I just leave them on the cylinder head, cylinders, not cylinder head, on the cylinders, just to know where they belong. Alright, so what's next? What am I doing? The bolts. Yeah, these are the last bolts, one of the last bolts, which holds the two halves of the crankcase together. So you first remove the small ones. These are 8mm. The head of them is 8mm sockets. But if you try to remove them like I did with a 10, it won't work, of course. So these are 8, and of course they have no tension on them, no torque on them. So you can see they are just coming off. And there should be a last one, which should be a 10, yeah, or 12, I forgot. And that is the last. And there is one, but it is holding a rubber piece for the chain, so that is not, that doesn't belong to this procedure. And there are also two bolts which belongs to the starter motor, the ones there, so don't get confused. As you can see, some of them long, some of them short, but if you make a video like I did, even if you forgot, you can just check the video and see which belongs where. Now I will put the engine upside down. There is that another gasket. It's also metal, isn't it? Yeah, it should be also metal, but it's not that important like that gasket. So yeah, but yeah, keep it in a good safe place. Now I can turn it upside down and we can undo the last bolts, or am I going to take the oil pan first? Let's see which one. Yeah, okay, the first one is the oil pan. There is the oil levels. I don't know, it's the oil heat oil. There is that on the left, right next to the bolt I'm changing, there is a sensor, but I totally forget what is it. I forgot to take it off, I guess. And of course, try to remove these bolts in a sequence, in small increments, but yep, I am just going for it as fast as I can. So this is also have their own boxes, have their own box, and then of course it is not easy to remove because that part is that part, if I can show it on the screen. Come on, show that. Yeah, that part belongs to that hole. If you look carefully.
Bakın şurada bir tane pin var.
Yep, it goes there. Yeah, sometimes it can come off with the carter, the oil pan. And what I wanted to say, the gasket always gets stick to the surface, so you need to hammer it. It will never come off easily. That is what was oil pickup, and it has a mesh, has a filter to filter the big parts, big particles. That's the only thing it's supposed to do. And yeah, put the bolts back in. It has an O-ring, if I remember right. It has an O-ring on its screw, but I forgot to take it off. If it stays in place, you can leave it for now, but try to remember that O-rings, especially those ones, because they are a bit special. They are not completely round. The flat side should face the engine, and the round side should face us. You will realize when you see them. And I forgot to take the O-ring off the oil pickup, but it's okay, just you don't forget it. So there is another oil line, which I just remove its bolts, and then you have to pull it off, shake it a bit, pull it off, and it will come. These also have O-rings, so check them for damage, for if they are very stiff and stuff, because of the heat they can get stiff. So now I can take these bolts, and first of the bolts you should take is the small ones. They're 8 millimeters. You can take them first, and then to get the bigger ones, the real, not the real ones, the bigger ones, that you need to do a crisscross pattern from outside in. You should start from outside and continue inwards. And there are 4 small ones, or 8 millimeters. And then I forgot if I'm respecting the sequence, but I guess I do, if I remember correctly. But of course, you should just be more precise and cautious with that. And if you get the manual, you also have every information there. So yeah, the bolts are also gone. Do I need to remove anything? No, there is liquid silicone sealant between the two hulls. Of course, you can just pull it off, pull it out. There are 2 points which you can pry. That's a pry point. And that is also a pry point. You can put screwdrivers, but be careful not to break the casting, because it's relatively easy to break material because it's aluminium, so be careful. There is also another pipe there at the back, as you can see, that you can just pull it out, and it has a plastic head like that. I forgot what it was for. Actually, so is there anything? I'm just thinking if there is anything, but no, you can just pull it out like that. There are a couple of things on that part that which we can remove, that I will remove afterwards. But now I will continue with that side. The first thing, you can get the balancer. A balancer. You can just pull it off. And I also have a mesh with the crankshaft. So if you don't have the service manual, make a picture, of course. That bolt is the bolt which I show, which belongs to the head, which is fallen. You can just pull that part of the transmission, and for that one you need to lift that clutch, whatever it is called, and you lift it up like that and you pull it off, and then you pull it off inside the clutch. And then there is also another gear there, and you can put the clutch back down, and then yeah, these are the transmission. There is also a video about transmission if you're wondering. I made, and you can pull it, and you can remove the chain around that part, and then that's also free. The next thing will be the crankshaft and that chains. Then is the timing chain. The other one is the transmission chain, or the main chain. I forgot the name. I use it as a handle, the chain, and you can just lift it up from the engine block. But be careful, don't let it fall on anything. If you let it fall on any surface, any precision surface, you will really regret it. So be careful. Now with that part, now there's that guide for the timing chain. It has 2 pins. The first pin is that you can use a magnet. That's the easiest way, I guess. And that the second pin is on its side. And if you remove that pin, now you can remove the guide, the timing chain guide, and keep an eye on those pins. Don't lose them. Not so vital, but yeah, just don't lose them. So they're finished with that part. Now we can continue with the forks. I guess that's what they're called, shifting forks. There is the metal rod which holds them in place, and if you push the metal rod to the side, you can just remove it. Try to keep an eye on these forks in their relationship to the drum. Which one is first, which one is second, and to be able to remove that, there are 2 bolts which is holding that drum. I call it drum, but I don't know if it's real name. You can have a nice shot of my hairy elbow. And there is a retaining pin, which you will understand what I mean in a second. You first remove the retaining pin, which holds another pin down, and when you remove the 2 of them, you can just pull the drum out from the third fork, shifting fork, and now you can see the pins, which pins that I meant. That's the one which is riding on in the grooves of that shifting drum, and there is another pin which you will see that is the retaining pin that you should just remove first. So yeah, keep them all together. Now I can remove the oil pump. An oil pump has a gear like that, which is a retaining ring that you need a special tool. You don't need, but it makes it much easier, that retaining ring. After you remove the retaining ring, you can just put them together, and you remove that 3 bolts which holds the oil pump together. And yeah, we remove the oil pump, and you can leave the bolts of the oil pump on the oil pump for a change, not on the the engine block. So you can see the O-ring is still on the oil pump. I will advise you to at least check it if you have oil pressure problems. There are oil lines, as you can see. There is one oil line. You need to remove this. That also is a bolt, as you can see. And there is also another oil line there. There are a couple of things. As you can see, there is the rubber part on the top part of the engine block. You can also change them if you would like to. But the 99.9% of the engine is disassembled. And as I said, everything has their own respective video almost. There is the rebuild of the starter engine, making new, not custom, but new seals, measurements, everything for the cylinder, blah blah. If you have any questions, please leave it in the below section. If you want to support, please like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.